Hello, my name is Aniba. Welcome to my brief video on the different states of data and the data flow diagram. This idea is to give you a superficial insight behind data flow. Now, data is always in one of these three states. It is either in transit, at rest, or in use. Let's look at data at rest. Data at rest is data that is persisted to a storage media. Storage media can be anywhere data is stored, whether it's a physical device or it's digital. As you can see on the screen, data at rest is said to be passive since it is not being accessed or manipulated. We have data in transit. Here, whether it's across the internet or other networks, data in transit is any data that is actively being moved from one place to another. Note that this is not data that is actively shifting between devices that are connected, such as a hard disk drive, a computer, or a flash drive. Data in use is data which is at any point being processed by an application or by an individual, which are either viewing or manipulating it. Now, IT infrastructure do not store this type of data, rather it is constantly in motion. That is why we see that data in transit or data in use is considered active because it's either moving to be processed or it's actually being actively processed. Now let's look at a simple example of a data flow diagram here, which is a diagram of a clothing system where a request for clothes from a clothing store has data moved from the customer in the form of banking details and addresses to the clothes ordering system to the supplier, a receipt for the customer, a request to the clothing store, and an update to the manager. Now you see that if you understand what the request is and what the system is supposed to look like, it is very easy to create a data flow diagram. Now, all data at any state should have some form of protection. Data at rest, data in use, or in transit should always be secure. And data in transit or data at rest can have different risk profile depending on the security mechanisms to protect the data. Data in any state, as earlier explained, should have a form of protection. One of the most important aspects of data protection is the use of encryption, which is widely used. Encrypting confidential material prior to moving and using encrypted connections like the HTTPS to safeguard the components of data in transit are two options for securing data in transit, which I always use. I can encrypt sensitive documents before I store them, and I can also encode the memory drive on which I store on its own in order to protect data at rest. Monitoring also and disclosing access to data to identify unusual behavior and possible threats are common practices for protecting data. I hope that you found this little piece very informative. Thank you and have a good one.